Hey everybody, it's Joshua Person here. It's been a while since I did one of these videos, but I'm back now. As I said in my last video, I had COVID, so once I recouped from that, I went on vacation, and the day after I came back from vacation, I was in a really bad car accident, but luckily God was looking out for me because I probably really should have been dead from that car accident. But I'm back now, recovering, thankfully. In other news, I published my second book, Why Block the Sun. It's a poetry book, so it's not necessarily a Christian book, but it does deal with some Christian-esque topics. And when I always write, I try to have a Christian mind frame. So for those that want to check it out, I'll leave the link in the description below. But today we're going to talk about the life of Abram or Abraham. Okay, the book of Genesis covers more than 2,000 years and more than 20 generations. A third of its text is on the life of one man, Abraham, the forefather of the Israelite nation. Okay, and because this is such a long story we're going to go into, I'm going to split this video up into two parts, and I will paraphrase a bit. Yeah. Okay. The life of Abraham illustrates the journey of faith. On the journey, there are many times where his faith weakens through disputes with relatives and neighbors and discouragements in his attempts to have an heir. But through it, all his trials, he grows in faith. We cannot fully understand the Bible without knowing the life of Abraham. Okay, a little background onto the character before we go into the chapter. Abram had a wife named Sarah, who was barren. In this day and age, it had involved a lot of shame and social ridicule. They lived with his father Sarah and his nephew Lot. Okay, I can turn to chapter Genesis 12. The Lord said to Abram, "Go forth from the land of your kinfolk and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you. All the communities of the earth shall find blessing in you." Abram went as the Lord directed him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarah, his brother's son Lot, and all the possessions they had accumulated, and they set out for the land of Canaan. Genesis 10. There was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there. Since the famine in the land was so severe, when he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarah, "I know well how beautiful a woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'She is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but let you live. Please say, therefore, that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me on your account, and my life may be spared for your sake." When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw how beautiful the woman was. And when Pharaoh's couriers saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. So she was taken into Pharaoh's palace. On her account, it went very well with Abram, and he received flocks and herd, male and female slaves, male and female asses, and camels. But the Lord struck Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Abram's wife Sarah. Then Pharaoh summoned Abram and said to him, "How could you do this to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? So that I took her for my wife. Here then is your wife. Take her and be gone." Then Pharaoh gave men orders concerning him, and they sent him on his way with his wife and all that belonged to him. Okay, even though Abram is a man of faith, but his time in Egypt really showed us his humanity and his fear of the Egyptians. Abram believes his life would protect him from the Egyptians rather than trusting in the Lord. Abram received a lot of wealth in Egypt, but as we're soon going to find out, it will cause him trouble. Chapter 13. Basically, it talks about how Abram and his nephew Lot had so much livestock between them that the land couldn't support both of them. Some of the animals were getting fed while others wasn't. And basically, when you force all those animals up against each other, it's going to cause some disdain between them. Yeah. So they couldn't, so the land couldn't support both of them, so they separated from one another. Lot saw how well watered the Jordan plains were, and he chose that land for himself. Genesis 13:14. After Lot had left, the Lord said to Abram, "Look about you, and from where you are, gaze to the north and the south, east and the west. All the land that you will see, I will give it to you and your descendants forever. I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth. If anyone can count the dust of the earth, your descendants too might be counted. Set forth and walk about it in the land. Though its length and breadth, for you I will give it." Abram moved his tent and went on to settle near Hebron. There he built an altar to the Lord. In this revelation, God revealed three specific things. 1, God will give the land to Abram and his descendants forever. 2, Abram's heir will be his own child. 3, Abram's descendants will be innumerable. Chapter 14 talks about a war between 4 eastern kings and 5 southern kings. Well, Lot somehow got taken captive along with all his goods. Once Abram found out what happened, he gathered some of his servants and ended the war. Which is kind of interesting to think about, like a whole war going on. But once Abram entered the fray, the war was ended because the Lord was with Abram, basically. Because Abram ended the war, the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah benefited from his actions. So they threw him basically a celebration party and gave him a lot of crap. They tried to give him a lot of gifts and stuff, but Abram was like, I don't want it to be like, oh, we made Abram wealthy. But he wants the Lord to have all the glory in that. So let's read chapter 15. Sometime after these events, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. "Fear not, Abram, I am your shield. I will make your reward very great." But Abram said, "O Lord God, what good will your gifts be if I keep on being childless, and have as my heir the steward of my house, Eliezer?" Abram continued, "See, you have given me no offspring, so one of my servants will have to be my heir." Then the word of the Lord came to him. "No, that one shall not be your heir. Your own issue shall be your heir." He took him outside and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars if you can. Just so," he added, "shall your descendants be." Abram put his faith in the Lord, who credited to him as an act of righteousness. Okay, Genesis 15:6. Abram put his faith in the Lord, who credited to him as an act of righteousness. Many people consider this to be the most important verse in the Old Testament. God declared Abram righteous on the basis of his faith. Let's read Genesis 16. Chapter 16. Abram's wife Sarah had borne him no children. She had, however, an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar. Sarah said to Abram, "The Lord had kept me from bearing children. Have intercourse then with my maid. Perhaps I shall have sons through her. Abram heeded Sarah's request. Thus, after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, his wife Sarah took her maid Hagar the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his concubine. He had intercourse with her, and she became pregnant. When she became aware of her pregnancy, she looked on her mistress with disdain. So Sarah said to Abram, "You are responsible for this outrage against me. I myself gave my maid to your embrace, but ever since she became aware of her pregnancy, she has been looking on me with disdain. May the Lord decide between you and me." Abram said to Sarah, "Your maid is in your power. Do to her whatever you please." Sarah then abused her so much that Hagar ran away. The Lord's messenger found her by a spring in the wilderness, the spring on the road to Shur, and then asked, "Hagar, maid of Sarah, where have you come from and where are you going?" She answered, "I am running away from my mistress Sarah." But the Lord's messenger told her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her abusive treatment. I will make your descendants so numerous," added the Lord's messenger, "that they will be too many to count." Besides, the Lord's messenger said to her, "You are now pregnant and shall bear a son, for you shall name him Ishmael. For the Lord has heard you, and God has answered you. Shall be a wild ass of a man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. In opposition to all his kin shall he encamp." To the Lord who spoke to her, she gave him a name, saying, "You are the God of vision." She meant, "Have I really seen God and remained alive after my vision?" That is why the well is called Bir Lani Ro. It is between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named the son whom Hagar bore him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. Okay, back in the biblical age, if a woman couldn't provide her husband with a child, she could give him a female slave as a wife and claim the child of the union as her own, which is what she attempted to do with Hagar. But Hagar's status changed when she became a slave wife. If she produced an heir, she could be viewed as the primary wife in the eyes of society, since Sarah could not, which is why she looked with disdain towards Sarah. Then Sarah, fearing the mistreatment, started abusing Hagar. Okay, this is where I want to break it off at, and then I'm going to come back later to see what happens next in the life of Abram and Abraham.